This is Golf with Jay Delsing. A two-time college All-American at UCLA. A participant in nearly 700 PGA Tour events. 7 professional wins to his credit. Over 30 years of professional golf experience. A member of the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. This is Golf with Jay Delsing.
Hey, good morning. Golf with Jay Delsing is on the air. This is Jay. I got Pearlie with me. Pearlie, good morning. How we doing?
Doing great, Jay. Looking forward to the second part of the Scott Fawcett interview and a couple other highlights that are going on in the golf world.
Absolutely. We have Scott Fawcett with Decade Golf. We talked briefly, not briefly, we had the entire show last week on Scott and Decade Golf. Let's just jump right in, John. We formatted the show like Around the Golf, and the first segment is called the On the Range segment. It's brought to you by our friends at the Gateway section of the PGA. We really appreciate these guys. First of all, it's their second year of supporting the show. They do great work in and around our region, just making our golf experiences. Chances are, whether it's your country club, whether it's your driving range, whether you're headed to a muni, there's a PGA man or woman in there opening up the shop, getting the golf balls ready to go, doing their thing so that we can enjoy the game, and we appreciate that and appreciate their support. We also appreciate our buddy, Jeff Thornhill at TaylorMade Golf, because we are giving away a dozen TP5 golf balls every week. Jay at jdelsinggolf.com. Put the word balls in the subject matter, and we pull a name out each week, and we give away a dozen golf balls, TP5s. Pretty damn cool. We'll get to Decade Golf in a little bit. We had the entire show. It dedicated that entire show to Decade last week. But, John, Rory McIlroy, and we haven't had the time because of our remotes and things to talk about him becoming world number one. Pearl, a lot of significance here, in my opinion. Rory has risen to the forefront as such a strong way, not only with the way his golf game and the shape that his golf game's in, but just the things that he's come up to be a real leader, John, on tour, against LIV, pro PGA Tour, and about growing the game.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's about his personal growth. I think he is so comfortable in his own skin, believes what he can and can't do. He's still a very humble guy. He's a family man now. Pulled all of life together, and man, he's going to be tough, I think, for the near future and maybe beyond, because he's just in a good sweet spot in life. Wow, is he absolutely playing up a storm? You know, he's definitely in that situation where he doesn't even have to play his best to win, and that's pretty special. When you're out there thinking you got to hit everything perfect, back to Decade Golf in some manners, most likely you're not going to win. But when you're out there like, hey, if I play my game, I'm probably going to win. It's beyond being competitive. He's probably going to win.
There's a lot going on for Rory. You know, it's supporting the tour, but he's a Euro. He's born in Ireland. He is on the other side of the Ryder Cup battles, and he has watched Sergio and Poulter and Westwood and the guys that he's battled with for the last over a decade. Here's that word again, decade, but for that long, and they're not going to be playing.
Well, it's interesting when you just called him a Euro. I was like, I kind of like recoiled on that. I'm thinking, yeah, you know, he is, but he's kind of transcended that. He's kind of just a spokesman for professional golf going forward, and kind of carrying the torch as far as how to behave, how to speak, how to play, etc. So I think he's European, but he's kind of the world golf dude right now, which is pretty cool.
That was a great word, to transcendence, because I feel like that's exactly what he's done. He's risen above all of the mess and all the slop, and he's taken the high road, and it's been impressive, and it's been fun to watch.
You know what happens though when those guys get up to that level? The rest of the world starts chopping them down and finding things wrong with them and everything else. So we'll see how he weathers that. I mean, everybody that seems to ascend to the very top, all of a sudden they're the top dog to get the pot shots. So hopefully he can weather all that. My guess is he can, because I think he's taken a lot of pot shots for a lot of years.
Well, John, he's already been world number one. So, you know, for him to regain that crown, so to speak, is and impressive. It's been fun to watch. I mean, he's been so close to knocking off a couple majors here and there, especially the British Open that Cam Smith won with a phenomenal round on Sunday, a 64 and I think a 30 on the back nine at St. Andrews. But
when Rory starts swinging that putter head, which he will do because he does on some occasion, when he can do that consistently, I don't think anybody's going to get him anymore. I think he's tightened it up, and it's it's golf, right? So it happens. But I think he's just taking it to the next level. But I am looking forward to, as we've discussed, him swinging that putter head, not dragging that thing through just ever so slightly, which is why those putts just barely don't go in. A little bit more swinging, and he's working with Faxon, I believe. I don't know if he still is or not, but Faxon certainly knows that. And so when he can get Rory to actually do it on the golf course consistently, man, Katie bar the doors.
Yeah, it's right. John, it's almost comes almost every single time comes down to whether his putter's on, to what degree his putter's on. Let's say that, because he's still shooting a lot of really low scores without holding a significant amount of putts.
Well, but that's the Scott Fawcett Decade Golf program, because nobody drives it better than Rory. Some people might be a little bit further, but nobody's as accurate, and nobody swings at it. Gosh, I wish I could do anything in my life as freewheeling as he does with his driver. I mean, you talking about just getting up there and just cold cocking that thing, and he's not that big of a guy. It's just kind of fun to work. So it's not surprising, again, with the subject matter we have last week's show and this week's show with Decade Golf, that we're also talking about the number one player in the world who maybe, if nothing else, just naturally does some of those key things that Scott Fawcett talks about.
Okay, guys, so Decade Golf, it's an acronym for distance, expectations, correct target, analyze, discipline, and execute. And so what this is, in a nutshell, we don't want to spoil too much of this interview that's coming up with Scott Fawcett here on the front nine. But what it does is, in a nutshell, is it has analyzed data over the last 15 years on the PGA Tour, and it has produced that data itself has produced this program that was the brainchild of Scott Fawcett. He's used that data. He's a card player. He's a poker player. All of that stuff is about knowing what the odds are, knowing what the chances of you pulling a card are compared to what your opponent's chances are, and trying to use these odds in your favor. And it's a fascinating component, John, to the rest of the technology-based PGA Tour when it comes to supreme power and all of the new equipment and the ball, and now a strategy on how to play the game.
Which we're debating which is the most powerful. And, I'm not sure which comes first, chicken or the egg. They're all important, but I'm not sure that this won't end up being the most important.
I agree, Pearl. You put a guy that's got talent and got that sort of game to play on the PGA Tour that can adhere to a system like this, you got a champion.
Well, let's put it this way. I'll take a lesser player that doesn't adhere to this system against a super talented player that doesn't understand this process, and I will take that lesser player over the course of time, which is what Scott talks about.
Absolutely.
Hey, one thing before we move on to the interview, and I'm kind of excited about this, because I think this is the last time of the year maybe we'll even have to talk about this. What's a quick update on LIV? Didn't they just kind of wrap up their season?
They did. They wrapped up their season in Miami. DJ came out of there with $36-some-odd million. Pat Perez came out of there with $8.5 million. All sorts of crazy, crazy numbers. Phil Mickelson was Phil. He was out the first day. Cameron Smith whipped his ass in the individual thing for their team. It was all over the place. I didn't see any of the numbers yet. I'll get some information and report back on there, but it's over. They played 8 events. Next year there's going to be 14. They still have no television deal, John. And one of the things that the golf world was looking forward to before LIV came in was Phil Mickelson as a commentator. That ain't happening. No. That's not happening.
Never say never. Never say never on that one.
Just on the short term, Phil's going to have to live out however long his commitment is for his $200 million, and then, Katie bar the door, because that could happen.
then his allegiance will switch on a dime to the
Oh,
next.
you know it. And the key word that you just used was dime. It's all focused around a dollar. That's what it is. We got to tip our cap. We want to thank Colin Burnt at the Dean Team Volkswagen of Kirkwood. 314-966-0303. Great guy. If you need me to introduce you to Colin, help you with a vehicle, just send me an email, j@jdelsingolf.com, and I'll make that happen. We're tipping our cap to the technology-driven side of golf. The Decade Golfs of the world, the equipment folks, the golf ball, the working out, the players, all of this newfangled stuff that you could put a bow on represents the modern-day PGA Tour. That's our tip of the cap, and it's brought to you by Colin and the Dean Team Volkswagen of Kirkwood, 314-966-0303. Don't go anywhere, folks. On the front nine, we're going to have this interview with Scott Fawcett. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. Folks, are you in the market for some additional protection for your ride? You need to call my friends at Vehicle Assurance. Their number is 866-341-9255. Sherry Fain is the owner and president, and she and her team are committed to helping you with your unexpected auto repair bills. They are committed to finding the right protection for you, your budget, and your family. They only work with the top vehicle service providers in the country. Get the protection and the peace of mind you deserve. That's Vehicle Assurance, 866-341-9255 for a free quote. 866-341-9255. Hey, this is Jay Delsing for SSM Health Physical Therapy. Our golf program has the same screening techniques and technology as the pros on the PGA Tour use. SSM Health Physical Therapy has the Titleist Performance Institute trained physical therapists that can perform the TPI screening on you, as well as use the K-Vest 3D motion capture system. Proper posture, alignment, etc. can help you keep your game right down the middle. We have 80 locations in the St. Louis area. Call 800-518-1626 or visit them on the web at ssmphysicaltherapy.com. Your therapy, our passion.
Good Sportsmanship will be back in St. Louis with the return of PGA Tour champions at the 2023 Ascension Charity Classic presented by Emerson. This year, Patrick Harrington took the Champions Trophy, but the real winners were again local St. Louis charities. Together with our corporate sponsors and fans, we were able to donate over $1 million to those who need it most. Thank you, St. Louis, and join us at historic Norwood Hills Country Club September 5th through the 10th for the 3rd annual Ascension Charity Classic. Thank you, St. Louis.
How would you like access to 90 holes of golf? Well, that's what happens when you join at Whitmore Country Club. You get access to the Missouri Bluffs, the Links of Dardenne, and the Golf Club of Wentzville. And guess what? No cart fees included in that deal. There's no food and beverage minimums. There's no assessments. They have a 24-hour fitness center, 2 large pool complexes, 3 tennis courts. Year-round social calendar includes holiday parties, picnics, date nights, live music. They even have a kids club for your children and much, much more. There's junior golf, junior tennis, and swim teams available. This is a family-friendly atmosphere, and they have a wonderful staff. If you get out there, you got to poke your head in the golf shop and say hello to my friend Bummer. He is a terrific guy, and he will help you with your game and show you around. And don't forget, there are golf leagues, skins games, members tournaments, and couples events available all year round. Visit WhitmoreGolf.com. That's WhitmoreGolf.com. Hey, welcome back. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. Pearlie's with me, and we're headed to the front nine. It's brought to you by the Ascension Charity Classic. That's right, year 3. We're talking about year 3, Norwood Hills, September 5th through 11th. Best players in the world come out and watch Padraig Harrington defend his title. I can't wait for it, Pearl. It's going to be great. It is definitely going to be our best year to date next year. Can't wait to see that happen.
Every year is going to get better with that group, so you'll always be able to say that every year.
Absolutely. All right, so let's just jump to Scott Fawcett. He is the creator, the founder of Decade Golf. So you're mentioning how taking the decision-making out of the player's hands, so to speak, and going along like Stuart Sink has done, there's an intangible component there that I'd love to investigate a little bit with you, because there's a lot of pressure and stress that's relieved there, especially for a guy like me.
I bet you were a good enough player. Obviously, you played on tour forever, but also you weren't an all-time great. I bet you have aimed away from a pin. Like, so a pin's 4 yards from the left. I should aim 5 yards right of it, but then you kind of hope you pull it. Like everybody on tour that I work with who is like you of the modern day, like a great player, but also we're not talking DJ.
Right.
100% of them are like, oh my God, I do that 6 times around. You've never sat on a driving range once in your life and thought, I hope I pull it 5 yards. But now you're sitting out there on what is kind of by definition a hard shot, which is why you should be aiming 5 or 7 yards right of it. Like that by definition is a hard shot. That's why you're doing this. Either the length of the shot or the surrounding hazards or whatever is why you're aiming away from it. And then you kind of hope you pull it. And so that's where this wishy-washy mindset comes in. And if there's anything that I actually do think that I've brought to the forefront in the game, like I get it, a lot of what I've added a lot of math to what a lot of the great, psychologists, the Dr. McCabe's, the Rotellas, these guys that are just great at what they do. But as a player, I'm like, well, yeah, but y'all wouldn't believe some of the dumb stuff we think. And
Right.
and I think that one is front and center of the dumb stuff we think and do. Again, like Dr. McCabe's one of my best friends. He's clearly one of the best sports psychiatrists, out there. But there's just this intangible of what we as players do where you're just like, God, that is just so stupid. It's incredible. And so really giving yourself a basis to why to make this decision, which again is why I work so well with so many of these sports psychologists. We work so well together is I'm like, wow, I don't know. I've started to say a player right there. I don't know why that guy's thinking the same. Hey, Brett, you get him to stop thinking that thing and I'll get him to think of targets better. It's why we work so well together, because it's like, dude, that's a dumb thought and here's a dumb other thought, and then it just still melts so well together.
Man, you're talking about my career in a nutshell there, right there.
Try being a 49-year-old amateur who, again, I went to Q school. I was trying to think of it earlier. I think I went to Q school 5 times in my 20s, and I was for sure a better player physically, obviously, than I am a quarter of a century later. But I just had no clue how to play the game. I went to Q school 5 times in my 20s. I made it to second stage once, and I didn't even sniff getting through second stage that year. I entered Q school again as a 35-year-old amateur, as well as 2009, 10, 11, and 12. And I think I made it to second stage 3 of the 4 times I entered then. And I'm not saying I do not think I'll make it through this week. My body is not doing well, but I'm at a minimum pretty damn close. And that's where it's like, oh my God, I'm just thinking better. I'm out thinking all of these kids, and I'm driving it well. But aside from just hitting a stop cut off the tee and then just trying to hit the club face with a 9-iron, like, there's not much else to it.
You also hit
really
the ball. How far
that.
do you hit the ball off the tee, though, Scott? Come on. You hit the ball 330, 340?
I mean, I've got, well, but again, like right now, as I'm recovering from my Charles Barkley inspired injuries, my ball speed is it's about 172, maybe in tournaments right now, maybe it's 175, but it's probably tour average or a little bit higher, but I'm by no means long. I mean, Cameron Young would be hitting at 100 past me. I'm playing with Dalkey tomorrow, Brad Dalkey, who obviously lost the U.S. Amateur in the finals, and I think he hits it pretty hard. I'll be interested to see how I fare against him, because I do think I'm driving it. I've driven it really well this week, which, again, from there's just not much left to the game. That's again, these things that are just so interesting. If you think of the all-time greats of the game, they're all great drivers. The Greg Normans, Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus. I mean, I'll even throw guys like Kenny Perry, Tom Lehman, guys like that just were out there forever and played great. They just did the same thing every single time. And if it didn't fit the hole, they just did something else. Yes. I mean, I would love to know if Tom Lehman ever just stood up somewhere and was like, well, rather than hitting my stock draw here, I'm going to try to cut it around this corner. I just highly doubt he did. I don't know that to be a fact, but I do know that like when Tiger was playing his best, let's call that early 2000s. I shouldn't say playing his best, driving at his best. The people that I've talked to are like, man, he just kind of hammered a cut with his driver and a draw with his irons.
Yep.
And that's ball position.
Right.
That's where when I start talking like Zalatoris, I'm a huge proponent of this mini driver that I've got right now, because I cut my driver exclusively and I can work my mini driver both ways. It's about a 13-degree tailor-made mini driver, but I can work it both ways because I can alter the ball position. So I'm altering swing path with ball position, not changing my swing. And you can't just stick a driver that is exiting left from up in your stance. You can't move that back, 4 balls because it's only got 8 degrees to begin with. So you just have to hit the same shot with your driver only, and then you can kind of work your 3-wood or mini driver. But that's where, again, I got myself in trouble with Faxon and Dan Hicks, obviously, on Twitter during Will's, Zalatoris' win in FedEx. But the one thing I wish I could have said is on 18 when he kept on hitting driver, because Will took my mini driver out and he played with it the week before. And I'm like, dude, just put this thing in your bag. Because when you get up on hole like 18 in Memphis, just hit a draw mini driver. 3-wood, as Sepp Straka illustrated, isn't quite long enough to take the water out of play. Driver, the shape doesn't really fit the hole, but a mini driver is just perfect. And we just don't need 3-woods into par 5s very often.
No,
I think
true.
a 3-wood's a totally useless club.
It's it's so interesting because when I played, I tried to hit my 3-wood because I could hit it at the fairway. And then when I think back about it, I'm like, I'm not sure how many fairways I hit with my 3-wood because I never played that. The strategy it wasn't sound thinking. And when I think back at Tiger in the Tiger 5 and how the simplicity, Scott, of this is just, it's staggering, but it makes so much sense when I kind of review how he played.
The problem is we get confirmation bias. I played in one PGA Tour event, the 1999 U.S. Open at Pinehurst, and I swear to God, this was my thought process on number one. And it was Harrison Frazier. If you're listening, I blame this on you. Harrison told me the first time he played in the U.S. Open, he was so nervous on one tee. He was like, I knew it was an iron off the tee, but I didn't want to hosel and play. And I'm like, that makes sense to me. And so I didn't want to hit driver because I'm like, I'll just hit 3-wood in play and then I'll knock it on the green. And so I literally hit 3-wood off the tee on number one at Pinehurst, and I put it in the fairway, and I had a 7-iron left, and I put it on the green to 18 feet, and I 2-putted it for par, and I moved on to 2T, and I'm like, I'm a genius. No, you literally, you will hit the fairway more often with 3-wood than driver. And for most people, it's like 5 to 7% of the time. But 100% of the time, you will be 30 or 40 yards longer. And that's just getting back to like the idea of if we're flipping coins and every time you win, I give you 10, and every time I win, you give me 20, that's a bad trade. Hitting 5 to 7% more fairways while having 100% of them being 30 or 40 yards longer, that's a bad trade. And so you should be hitting driver almost everywhere you possibly can, and then figure it out. You just won't, I'll just put this 3-wood in play. It's just not how it works.
Scott, tell us how Decade's doing. Tell us about the app. Tell folks how they can get in touch with you. I know you're such an authentic, open guy. I mean, I know you'll respond to people if they want to reach out to you. What's the best way?
Honestly, at this point, if you just Google Decade Golf, you'll find it. I do hate saying it because it's my app, but it really does a great job of eliminating what we all hate after every round of golf, just the stupid mistakes. How it's doing. I mean, honestly, I sent off yesterday morning to the PGA Tour. I had 37 guys on the PGA Tour this week that I've worked with. And it is, 30 to 45 every single week. And again, most of them are the younger players. So these younger players that are coming out of college, Morikawa attended my seminar in college. Obviously, he's done great work with Rick Sessinghouse. Colin told me, he's like, it's nothing new. It quantified a lot of what we're working on, but it's all the same thing. You've got, Doc Redman, Bryson, Maverick, Zalatoris, like it's endless. And so when you see why is the tour making this shift younger, it's not like something special happened with younger players all of a sudden where they've got better skills, which obviously actually I shouldn't say that. They do. Better instruction, better they do. But also they just understand how to play the game like a 32-year-old tour player. That's it. I mean, that was and I posted this on Twitter back when Will finished second at the Masters last year, and all of the announcers were freaking out about, like, God, this kid just seems so composed. That literally goes back to the Texas Amateur in 2014. And I'll finish with this. In the 16th fairway in the practice round of the Texas Amateur that year, Will hits the ball really good. Maybe you've noticed. He doesn't putt it so good. Maybe you've noticed.
Yeah.
But we get out there, we're in the fairway in the 16th hole of the practice round, and he hit just another shot to 3 feet, and I picked up the bag and I started walking. He's like, and as we're walking, he's like, you know what? I got a really good feeling about this week. And I set the bag down, and I'm not kidding. I grabbed him by the shoulders and I looked him in it's a quote actually in an article that he wrote. And I looked in the eye and I said, dude, you're going to win this tournament as long as you do exactly what I tell you to do. And this wasn't a what I tell you to do statement. It's like, as long as you play this game correctly. But if you start thinking about, I'm going to win this tournament, I've got a really good feeling, like, because
we're in trouble.
What's all?
Yeah.
There's a thing that, like, companies do when they fail. It's called a post-mortem. What went wrong? I was doing a pre-mortem. What's gonna go wrong? And I thought, how is this kid not gonna win this week? And the only thing I came up with is he's going to focus on winning. And I said, dude, I'm telling you right now, I want you to not think about winning this golf tournament again until we pick the ball up out of the 72nd hole, period. And we laughed about it the entire week. There were 3 or 4 times every single day I said, you haven't won yet. You realize that? And he would even joke to me like, have we won yet? I'm like, no. Yeah. And I actually forgot to tell him. I had this whole thing, and I was too busy crying on the side of the green. But I had this whole thing planned. Like, I start to tee up right now. Like, it's such a great experience. But I had this whole thing planned out where on the 18th hole, I was going to just, like, say, hey, dude, you won. You can relax. And I forgot until I was driving home, and I sent him a text. I was like, hey, I forgot to tell you, you can relax. You won. But we've rallied on that constantly. And Saturday night before he won in Memphis, I literally sent him a text. I was like, look, dude, I know you've been close. I know you know what you're doing, but just think back to the Texas Amateur that year. We rallied. We literally focused on not trying to win. And again, not trying to win is the wrong way of saying it, but like,
no, I know,
thinking about winning.
Right. Just stay in the present.
Play all the shots and just see what happens.
Yep.
And it's just, that's the key to everything. You start making emotional decisions. And again, I've got plenty of detractors and haters, whatever. And I think that's what most of them don't realize is all I'm trying to get people to do is realize, stay in the present moment. Once you start getting ahead of yourself, the emotion starts coming into play. And I've had even a couple of different announcers who actually get along with fairly well now. But initially they told me, I always played better with emotion. And I told them, no, you didn't play as good without emotion. It's not semantics either. You can't play better than you are. You just weren't trying on Thursday. But once you put yourself into the battle on the back nine on Sunday, you thought you were clutch. No, you were just paying attention.
Right.
And that's all we're trying to accomplish for people. And again, not just for golf, for life. Like, that's my bigger mission with everything, teaching people meditation and just everything is like, we got a lot of stuff to figure out here in this world right now. We're really trying to help people understand that some meditation, remaining present, lack of emotional control, that's what's going to help us get back on track as a world.
All right, that's going to wrap up the front nine in the first half of this interview with Scott. It's actually the third part. We've got 2 shows with Scott, so this is actually the third part of the interview in day 2. Don't go anywhere. John and I'll be right back with more of the second half of that interview and the back nine. It's Golf with Jay Delsing. I want to summarize some of the fantastic things that Marcone, your hometown company that is the largest distributor of General Electric appliance parts in North America, has done this year. We started out with CEO Jim Sowers donating 2 service dogs to the wounded servicemen and women heroes in our country. We followed that up with a raffling of 2 suites at St. Louis Blues home games with Danny Mack and myself, and with all of those proceeds headed to the Backstoppers organization. Lastly, the Marcone First Responder, Military, Police, and Firefighters viewing deck at the Ascension Charity Classic was a huge success. So much so that this idea and model is being implemented at other PGA Tour Champions events. Thank you, Marcone, for your support, and thank you for your tireless giving in our community. I want to tell you about a family-owned and operated golf business that's been right here in St. Louis for over 40 years. I'm talking about Pro-Am Golf Center. That's right, Pro-Am Golf Center. I know you know the name, but I'm not sure you know what they really have to offer. They have everything a seasoned golfer like myself could need, all the way down to what a beginner would want. Pro-Am Golf Center has the lowest price in the area for custom club fitting. I just went and visited CJ. He is terrific. If you call them now, mention my name, Jay Delsing, you will receive a discount on that already low club fitting price. Their number is 314-647-8054. Ask for CJ, or you can visit them at proamgolfusa.com. That's proamgolfusa.com. Powers Insurance is a family-owned agency right here in St. Louis that specializes in providing personalized coverage for the client who has a lot going on. At Powers, they understand that you and your life do not fit in a simple box. So guess what? Neither should your insurance coverage. Go to powersinsurance.com or call 314-725-1414 and ask for Tim Davis. That's powersinsurance.com. I am proud to welcome the Gateway section of the PGA back to my show. Whether you're pulling into your favorite driving range, public golf course, or country club, there is an excellent chance that the staff there is part of the over 300 men and women PGA professionals at over 100 facilities that make up our Gateway section. I grew up watching so many of these fine men and women getting to the golf course at dawn, leaving at dusk, spending their entire day running events, giving lessons, and growing this great game. PGA Reach, Drive, Chip, and Putt, PGA Hope, and the fantastic PGA Junior League are a few of the examples of the programs run by these same PGA professionals. Go to gatewaypga.org to learn more, or to find your next PGA professional for your next lesson, go to pga.com. The Gateway PGA, growing the game we love. Hey, Golfer Jay Delsing is here. I'm Jay, he's Pearly, and we are headed to the back nine, and it's brought to you by our friends at Pro-Am Golf. 314-647-8054. Call them, ask for CJ, get fitted. Get clubs that are fit for your speed, for your body type, and go over there and check out their pro shop. Their golf shop has got a ton of really cool gear in there. Tom DeGrand is a rock star. He's been teaching golf for over 40 years, and it's a family-owned business. You'll love supporting them. We're going right to the final segment of our interview with Scott Fawcett and Decade Golf. I hope you enjoy. Give us a quick update, please, on Will and how the injury's going and when we'll get to see him play again.
My understanding is he's doing good. I mean, again, he's got some herniated disc, but my understanding is the treatment he's doing good. It's not herniated. So I had some herniated discs in my neck that were, I think, 3 and 5 millimeter.
Ooh.
They told me those will actually retract. So the herniation will actually come back in. So I'm assuming, I haven't asked Will exactly how many millimeters his discs are herniated, but since they're not doing surgery, I'm assuming it's in that 3 to 5 millimeter range. And personally, I can speak from experience. They actually did. I didn't do anything for like a year and a half, and they did. So but this is the thing that's hard, man. I do think that golf is a 25-year career anymore. I think that it's more, not quite a fullback, but this is a violent game, and hitting it further is the most important thing you can do to get better at golf, period. Like, it is the number one thing. And so you get a guy like Will, who's 6'3". He actually is 175 pounds. People don't believe that because you see these frail arms. Well, if that dude could take his pants off, I haven't seen him with the pants off, but I've seen him with shorts on. That guy's legs, well, like Fred Couples, you've probably seen Fred's legs.
Powerful.
Those legs, he couldn't fit in cowboy boots if he had to.
Yeah.
Will is the same way. And so you get these frail guys like Will, like Tiger. They are going to have lower back problems. Again, I'm 6'1", 220. I've never had a back problem. I've had upper neck problems, but not back problems. You look at guys like me, Bryson, Mickelson, Nicklaus. We don't have back problems because we're just big dudes.
You're thicker. And the slender guys are going to have those.
Yeah, it is what it is. And again, this is where like people talk about changing his swing, and I'm like, no. He needs to make 75 million in about 12 years and then figure out something to do with his life, because he's probably going to be hurt. Like, I don't think you can slow his swing down, and him, like, Jamie Sadlowski is a guy who's wiry.
Yep.
But try to slow that swing down.
No way.
He can't play.
But Scott, that also doesn't make him who he is. You're taking away like his left arm and like, okay, now go. You can't do that and have the same player. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that. And again, that's my point, is like, well, sure, if you want him to have this injury-free 25-year career, maybe they got to do something else. But then he wouldn't be the same guy. Nicklaus, his longevity and greatness was as much, and again, I actually shouldn't say this but I'm assuming he wasn't injured very often because he finished in the top in the majors every single year. That was his greatness, was just being a big dude. I really do mean that too. Like, Jack, you're the second GOAT. My surrender is he's the greatest major champion of all time, but he's not remotely close to Tiger in form of as far as the best the game's ever been played. And I think that's just a function of body type. I really do believe that.
Well, you run into a slippery slope to go compare ages and everything. But I mean, let's be honest. If Tiger doesn't have that Thanksgiving Day massacre that happened to him out in Orlando, he's blowing up every single record that we have, Scott. Let's be honest. I mean, he's gonna have 30 majors. I mean, come on.
Clearly, but he's definitely still going to have injuries.
No doubt.
The back problems aren't going away. And yes, that is probably a lot of Navy SEAL training, but it's also a lot of his body type. And I shouldn't even say, because he's obviously a huge dude. It's his maybe I'm just compensating as a fat guy, but like I'm a pretty big guy with a 37-inch waist, and Tiger's like a 32. Like, he's just frail in the middle, which is kind of where it counts.
Well, for the examples that you used with Mickelson and Jack and some of the thicker guys, Trevino and things like that, they were always thick around. Look at Ernie Els, same way. Ernie's 6'3", 3.5", but he weighs 230 pounds and he's got a 40-inch waist.
There aren't many. There are fat guys that have had back problems. There aren't many guys in that 5'11" to 6'3", 190 to 220-ish range that have just had back problems. We don't have, my hips are maybe 30-degree open at impact, whereas Will's are 90.
Yeah, exactly. And there you go. But, that extra torque is the killer, right? I mean, it also gives him all the speed. But I mean, it's like anything else, Scott, right? There's gives and takes. There's yin and yang on both ends of the spectrum here.
100%.
Yeah.
But again, that's why like where I got so mad, like there's yin and yang is Furyk, his first 5 years on tour, all they talked about was this guy's going to need to change his swing. And finally, after 5 years, like, he kind of stripes it. That's all. That's the only thing I'm trying to push along when I argue on Twitter about Zalatoris' putting. Like, hey, I don't disagree, man. I don't want to watch his 4 foot. Like, if it was a 4-footer for my life and it was him or someone else, I'd be like, can I take someone else? But also, he's 3% worse than tour average. It's just not that big of a deal.
It just looks so uncomfortable. That's what the problem is.
It looks so gross.
Oh,
again,
it does.
I'm not disputing that. It looks disgusting. But guess what? I've watched that up close more than anyone else on this planet. And there's times, even back to the U.S. Junior, when he was putting with a short putter, I'm like, how does this thing keep going in?
Exactly. You know what? It keeps going in.
And that's, I swear to God, like, as I'm sitting here in Q school, haven't played a whole lot of golf, and But every single 4-foot putt, you can ask the guys I'm playing with. Like, I literally have held my putter out, not like I'm measuring it. Like, if you were measuring to see if it's in the leather, I've kind of been doing that on the 3 to 4 foot putt range to show myself this is a 95% putt.
Yep.
Just shut up.
Yep. And putt it.
Just shut up and putt it. Like, I literally, like, I bet you the guys in my group don't realize that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But I've done that on at least, I bet 6 putts or 7 putts. And guess what? Even still, I missed one of them.
Yeah. Well,
but also, it's not that big of a deal. I'm positive strokes gained putting because I have good speed, and I've made a decent amount of mid-range putts this week.
Yeah.
That's it.
Scott, hey, best of luck in the school. We got to keep you on this show. This is really super fun. We got to get you some rest too.
November?
What's that?
We can't just talk until November.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want you to miss your tee time. But, man, we definitely know you're the oldest guy in the Corn Ferry qualifying school tournament this week. We know that for sure. We wish you all the best.
That is most likely. Also synonymous with the dumbest.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Jay.
All right, that's going to wrap up the back nine and the last part of the interview with Scott Fawcett. Pearlie and I will break it down for you on the 19th hole. This is Golf with Jay Delsing.
Hello, friends. This is Jim Nance, and you are listening to Golf with my friend Jay Delsing.
I want to officially welcome Daugherty Business Solutions as the new title sponsor of this show. So who are they? Well, first of all, they've been headquartered in St. Louis for the last 37 years. They're the #1 largest IT consulting firm per the St. Louis Business Journal. They're also the #1 largest software development company per the St. Louis Business Journal. They were voted #1 top workplace in St. Louis for large companies. There's over 2,500 teammates in 30 states and in 3 countries. There are 11 Daugherty regional development hubs in and around the world. If you live and or work in the St. Louis area, chances are that through their business or their extensive community work, Daugherty Business Solutions has done something positive near you. Check us out at Daugherty.com. That's DAUGHERTY.com. Folks, do you need a new car, truck, or SUV? Then the Dean Team of Kirkwood is the place for you to go. 314-966-0303 and go see Colin Byrne. He just got me into a new SUV and I love it. Boy, did they make the experience painless and super, super easy. Most dealers don't have any cars in their lots, but at Dean Team of Kirkwood, Colin has an entire parking lot full of new and used cars. You don't want a VW? That's no problem. They have Audis, BMWs, Mercedes, anything you want. Colin and the Dean Team of Kirkwood will go get it if they don't have it. Call them at 314-966-0303 or go to DeanTeamVWKirkwood.com. The Dean Team, for all your car buying needs.
The Legends of Golf return to St. Louis in 2023. You won't want to miss one of the strongest fields in golf. Ernie Els, Steve Stricker, Bernard Longer, John Daly, and many more when they compete for the 2023 Ascension Charity Classic title, September 5th through the 10th at historic Norwood Hills Country Club. All proceeds benefit area charities. Together, we were able to donate over $1 million to those most in need last year. Visit AscensionCharityClassic.com.
After my knee replacement, I was able to swing the golf club again without any pain. SSM Health Physical Therapy guided me through the rehab process, and when I was ready, one of their specially trained KVS certified physical therapists put me on the 3D motion capture system. It was awesome. They evaluated my posture, alignment, and the efficiencies of my swing. They gave me golf-specific exercises to help make my swing more efficient and repeatable. Call 800-518-1626. Tell them Jay sent you for special pricing. Your therapy, our passion. I've been looking for over 3 years for the perfect place to be the official 19th hole of the Golf with Jay Delsing show, and the search is over. Please welcome the loading dock to the show. What a great place it is. It is located at the confluence of the Mississippi and Illinois rivers in beautiful Grafton, Illinois. Their patio is killer with seating for over 800, and every weekend the loading dock has the area's best live music. There's no reservations required. They have overnight lodging available, and they also have an ice skating rink in the winter months. And don't forget about the super cool Riverside Flea Market, which happens the fourth weekend of each month from April through October. If you're into antiques and collectibles, you gotta check it out. The Grafton Ferry runs directly from St. Charles County to within steps of our parking lot. Go check out the loading dock and say hello to my buddy Peter Allen. He is a great guy, good golfer, and a lover of the game. Call 618-556-7951 or visit them on the web at graftonloadingdock.com for more information on their live music schedule, the Riverside Flea Market, and more. The Loading Dock, the new official 19th hole of the Golf with Jay Delsing show. Hey, welcome back. Jay here. John's with me. It's Golf with Jay Delsing, and we are headed to the 19th hole. Pearl, go ahead, open one.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I got to get a little bit more comfortable with how straightforward Scott is. He's more endearing to me now. He's quite the character. As you mentioned last week, he can certainly be abrasive. But for me, the more I hear him, the more I hear his fun stories. And what a character. I mean, what a character across the board. And I'm glad that you pressed him on, by the way, on how far he hits the ball. Because I guess he's XL long. Extra
long.
So, but his system still works, whether you're extra long or not extra long. I just think it's a little easier these days to play when you're that long. There's so much good stuff. It's so thick with interesting stories. The one I have to take away, and I had a question for you. So Stuart Sink going out there buys the app on his own on the side. You know, the crazy. I'm surprised because tour players don't normally buy anything, so I'm surprised he didn't ask for 5 free ones.
That's a good point.
Then he goes out there and wins. Not only wins once, wins twice. I have a question though. Inside baby scoop, possibly his son, Stuart Sink's son Reagan, who caddied for him, also about that time, I'm pretty sure, announced that he was going to go and caddy full time on tour. Do you think it's because of this system and him being one of maybe the foremost guys of having the experience of walking a tour player through wins with the decade system? I was just wondering that off the cuff.
It's a good point. I mentioned to you to open one because we're on the 19th hole, brought to you by our boys at the Loading Dock. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, I was so excited to make that.
I know you forgot to open your beer. Anyway, thanks to the Allen family for supporting the show.
Wait a second. Loading Dock, I'm opening too.
Yeah, you got to 618-556-7951. Great place to go. John, the point about Stuart Sink, he hadn't won a tour event in over 11 years, John. He was, 47 years old, finally gets back in the winner's circle. And, John, it didn't stop with one. He won multiple times.
I know. That's what I was saying.
You know what's so cool is Stewie has been on the show. We should get him back on the show and talk about this and let him break it down and talk about why this is so important, what's so important about it, and what is so meaningful to him.
I think that'd be a great thing, even if it's just a shorter blurb. I think this is something we should carry forward and continue to investigate a little bit more. The other most stunning piece to me, which I didn't think at all coming through this, was when Scott Fawcett starts talking about how many of the young players are up and coming that are using this system. And he's, of course, in his abrasive way said, what do you think it is? They're better players? They're not better players. They have a better system that they're playing under. I was like, ding, when that went off for me. I thought that was fascinating. I think I buy into it. What do you think?
I'm going to say they're still better. I'm going to say they're still better. I believe they're better. I think they're bigger, they're stronger, they've had better training. But like we said, it's a different. This is a game changer, Pearl.
Yeah, but now they have a better system. So
right.
They're all those things. But I guess my point is, all those things you just mentioned, why they're better, didn't just happen in the last 12 months. I mean, this has been kind of trending. So why is it so much more dramatic? It's another thing that I think is why the health of the golf world, the professional golf world, is so healthy. There is so many good players. I'm such a golf geek. I watch these European events. I watch the Asian events, that kind of stuff, whatever I can catch on TV. There are so many good players, Jay, and week in, week out, there's so many good swings out there. But something is, so that is happening. But taking on this approach is a huge piece.
Oh, there's no question about it. But plus, John, when you can say, look at my decision making was off today. I tried to hit shots I shouldn't have tried to hit. That's different than saying I made a bad swing. I mean, you know how difficult the PGA Tour golf courses are. You can be 6 inches off from 200 yards, John, and talk about the difference between a birdie and a double bogey.
Absolutely.
And I mean,
Absolutely.
That's what we're talking about here. And that's why it's so crucial, because the razor's edge is so fine. Stay away from that and get that thing out and play more towards the mean, play more towards the safe side. As Scott talked about, play to not make mistakes. Give yourself, more room for error. And John, what do you think? Here's what I've seen. One of the things that struck me about Zalatoris is how calm he looks. And you want to know why he looks so calm, John? Because Exactly. And Pearl, he's got a lot of control over his golf ball already. And he's not trying to knock the flags down.
Hey, Jay, but when you're calm, when you're relaxed, when you're confident, you're going to have more control in your golf ball. You have less when you're none of those things. I also loved when he came out and said, these guys are playing to the right side, the left side, this angle, that angle. He said, sorry, you're not that good. And I love what you and him agreed to. I think you were talking about a layup 4-iron when he had a 20-yard wide fairway.
That was a number 6 at Wingfoot.
A fairway with a 4-iron or 5-iron in our hands when it was 20 yards wide.
Just wanted to kill myself. Just wanted to kill you and kill you first, and then maybe myself if I still needed to. But the point is, you're right, John. And he's like, all of a sudden we thought, we were swinging poorly. It's just you don't have nearly the control over your golf ball that you think you do.
Just that one stat caught me too. From 160 to 180 yards.
How about this?
When they go to the back.
Yeah, back pin.
They're missing. They're hitting the green 71% of the time.
Yep.
Back pin. When it's the front pin, same distance. They're only hitting the green slightly over half, 57% of the time. Wow. So just as a caddy, every time I would just go, when slightly in doubt, take more, hit the shot that you can hit the ball a little bit further, type of thing. Yeah, just that kind of stuff. When again, you got to buy into it, but they have so many stats to support it. You just buy into it and you just make that decision every time. I just love that.
Well, John, so let's break this down just a little bit for the listeners out there, because we talked a little bit on the last show, but this is absolutely for them as well. Think about how many times, John, we have seen amateurs not take enough club. I mean, 99% of the time, very seldom, we could run through 10 pro-ams and not see 3 balls past the flagstick in regulation from any amateur that we played with in 10 different pro-ams.
No question.
And it's that sort of game. I loved the example Scott gave where he knew it was a perfect pitching wedge if he was swinging great, but according to the system and according to what he knew about himself and how his game was progressing or not progressing, it needed to be a 3/4 9-iron, a fly to 9-iron. What did he do? He hits his full pitching wedge and mishits it a slight bit and comes down in the front bunker. And it's just so interesting because those decisions are everything. I mean, I start thinking about how many times, John, I would stand out there and say, I'm hitting this shot. And you, if I was confident, you would just back off. And now I'm thinking, you should have never hit that shot. I don't care how confident you would. You should have never hit it because even though I was confident, I didn't always pull it off.
Well, but to your point, it's such a different approach, as you said to him, and I think you generally agreed. You got to put your ego to the side. It's a whole different thing. It's what am I feeling? Where are we? What do we have in front of us? What's the statistic on this? And then you just go from there. It's kind of fun. You mentioned last week that the different sports are doing it. You hear the commentators in football say it a lot. Okay, they're 4th and 1 on the 1. What statistically is the way to go here? Kicking the field goal or going for it? And they'll say, well, there's a 2% deviation in the right way to go about this type of stuff. So, a lot of times it's kind of a flip of a coin anyway, but it's just a different way to play. I'm excited to learn more about it. I'm excited to go out there and try to play that way. And my guess is it's going to feel just right. And it's probably going to feel like some of the times that I've played my better golf anyway, when I've just had a different approach and not trying to hit these perfect golf shots.
Wait a second, John. Some of the best golf you played in college was when you were working with Bruce Ogilvie, and you were deliberately taught to play away from the flagstick.
Yeah, well, he taught me to be comfortable playing away from the flagstick. Exactly right, Jay. Exactly right, because we didn't think of it that way back then. But he's just like, yeah, you're exactly right. It was a big deal.
Pearl, let's talk through that process a little bit, because I can remember you coming back to me and I was like shaking my head like, what the hell are you talking about? When he was like, you'd play two balls and he would say to you, John, this second ball is mine. You have no dog in this fight. So I want you to aim, instead of at that flagstick that's in the back left corner of the green, I want you to aim at the center of the green in that tree right there. That's your target, not the other. And I remember you saying specifically, he made sure you understood that is your target, not the other one, not the flagstick, even though that's where the hole is. Your target is this new thing right here, and it's my ball, and focus on that.
Well, then exactly right. I had a ball that was my golf ball. I played two balls, one that he deemed as his and made it very clear to me that it was his. We probably played this game on 4 or 5 different occasions for 9 holes, and I never came within 2 shots of beating him. Relative to that mind game that he would play with me, it was just fascinating. It was kind of pre-Bob Rotella stuff. Yep. And just love that man. He was huge for me. But you're right. It was a piece of it was the ego, but another piece was just to be able to play and look at the game very differently. And probably to this day, he was teaching me things that I still vaguely understand.
John, did you have any sort of sense while you were going through this of like, I need to start playing away from targets and stuff, or have alternative targets?
Sure. I learned a lot from that. I mean, across the board, just that approach. I mean, I remember I hit the ball further. I played much better. I played much calmer. All of those things. You
won a tournament shortly thereafter as well.
Well, I won a tournament, but I made the team. I mean, I wasn't making the team. Then all of a sudden, get All-American honors and all that kind of good stuff, and getting to play with you guys week in, week out against the best, what turned out to be the best players in the world. Yeah. So yeah, there was just a lot to it, and again, I let that slide by the wayside. You and I have talked about things that worked and let slide by the wayside. But this is a piece that I think we're going to see front and center, and I'm really pumped that we get to talk about it on the show, because I think people are going to hear a lot more about it, and hopefully we get their ears perked up from the show, so they can better understand it when they hear it on the TV coverages coming up.
Yeah, absolutely, and it'll be interesting, John, with golf commentary, where a commentator might say, "Well, he's pushed it way right of the flag." You got to start thinking about it now, and you're like, did he really?
Well, also look at some of the commentators. Is a Curtis Strange going to buy into this? Is a Lanny Watkins? These are pretty stalwart guys to believe what they believe. So are those guys going to buy into this? And especially when Brandel Chambly, not a surprise, is one of the ones to kind of break it nationally more often, type of thing, and that kind of grates on some of those guys as well. So there's going to be a bit of a power struggle, would be my guess, on buying into this. But I think Curtis doesn't want to do it because it'll be a second event like he had with Tiger the first time. He doesn't want to go through that again, I don't think.
I don't think I wouldn't if I were him. Pearl, that's going to wrap up another show. We are going to announce the winners of the the golf balls.
Did I win this time? Finally, did I finally win? I sent a bunch of texts to you that said balls, balls, balls.
Let me see. You didn't win. You were close, though. The two Alexes won last week and this week. Alex Woolsey and Alex Patterson. You guys won TP5 dozen golf balls. They'll be coming to your house. Hang out by the mailbox, and don't let Pearlie have any, because he's got plenty. You got money. You got golf balls. You got new gear. How about a new gear report before we sign off this week?
Well, I'm down in Texas, and I have to admit, I'm starting to hit the ball better and starting to feel good. It's starting to kind of click in. Man, I had a session the other day, and it was just so much fun, and starting to click in with it. So it was pretty solid stuff. So we'll see. I gotta get it on the golf course, but I'm excited.
Well, that's awesome. This has been Golf with Jay Delsing. Pearl, thanks for joining me, and we will be at you next week. Hit us straight, St. Louis. Hey, do you like wine? Have you heard about the hottest new wine bar in St. Louis? It's called Wild Crush Wine Bar, and it's located in Town and Country on Clayton Road, just behind the Straubs. Have you ever experienced self-dispensing wine machines? Well, they are here. The only place in St. Louis and most of Missouri that you'll find them, and it's at Wild Crush. You can choose your size of pour, and Wild Crush will pour the freshest wine in the area for you. The organic argon gas system used at Wild Crush keeps this wine pristinely fresh for up to 60 days. So if you're tired of drinking wine that's been open for a few days, come into Wild Crush for the best and freshest wine selection in the area. Go to wildcrushstl.com and come have one with us.
Looking to upgrade your kitchen with a beautiful, stylish centerpiece? LG can help with our new CounterDepth Max French door refrigerator lineup. Finally, the industry's first and only CounterDepth design offered in standard depth capacity. Now you can get the refrigerator style you love with the storage space you need with no compromise on interior capacity. LG's CounterDepth Max refrigerators. Built-in style, full-size capacity. Learn more at lg.com.